come in the theatre, which is just fantastic. I'm very moved by it. Now, we're going to play a round for our After 9 quiz today of Blankety Blank.
It's Blankety Blank with Julian Clegg, live from the Mayflower Theatre, BBC Radio Solent.
Right, I wasn't expecting that. Shall we have the real crowd now? Thank you. So, today we are going to play Blankety Blank, and of course we have our celebrity panel and we have our contestants. So first of all, shall we meet the panel? Yes! So let's say hello to who's playing today. Looking resplendent in red for us this morning, Sam Fraser.
Hi, Jules.
So thank you for playing.
Well, you know me. I can't resist a game show.
I've been looking at old episodes on YouTube, and I watched David Williams, of course, doing this at Christmas on ITV, so I've got a bit of an idea what's going on, but only a bit.
Well, I think I could be well suited to this game. Yes.
Now, when we get to the super match, will they choose you?
Almost certainly not.
Yeah, okay. Sam, thank you. So that's contestant, or should I say panellist number 1. Panellist number 2 is Judy Goodlett.
Remember anything about it?
Oh, don't worry, I'll help you.
Oh, good, that's good.
I promise I will help you.
Good.
So, have you ever taken part in a game show before, Judy?
No. As a little schoolgirl, I took part in a quiz on television.
Yes, you were in...
Top of the form! Of course, with my little floor, sitting there. It was a long time ago.
Did your team or your school win?
Of course we did. Yes, and I went to school in Selsey. Burnt down recently. Yes.
Yes, I forgot that. Yes. Well, look, give Judy a round of applause. So Emily is here as our third celebrity of the morning on the panel. Hello.
Hello, my name's Emily and I'm from Bournemouth. Very exciting. This is words, and words are my thing.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, to be honest with you, as long as I be careful, I don't care. But I think I am going to be the person that the players will want to pick.
So when we get to the end, there's a super match game, and of course, then it is a matter of favouritism, isn't it?
And I have to think fast. I have to get my words out quickly, you know, clearly. I think it's definitely going to be my game.
Celebrity number 4. There's normally 6, we're having 5 today. Kevin James, good morning, Kev.
Morning.
Are words your thing?
No. Do you know what? This is no lie. I've just had an email from somebody who's listening to say that I pronounced something wrong already.
Funny name that we were doing earlier, that made the audience laugh.
Hospital. Oh, that's not genuine text. Kevin, something about... Hang on, I need to put my glasses on here. It says, I know I'm being pedantic, but something is either unique or not. It cannot be very unique. Well, I must have said that somewhere. That's just the sort of thing I have every day. Things I can come on, read it out, and it's no problem.
And Roger, you're so right.
It's quite stressful.
Thank you very much. Kevin James! Contestant? No, celebrity number 5, they're the contestants. Let's say hello to our chief engineer, the man who put this show together technically over the last, 11 weeks. It's Malcolm Bears. Are words your thing?
No, unlike Judy, who was top of the form, I was bottom of the form.
I don't believe it.
I'm worried about Terry.
The good thing is you don't have to worry about that unless you're chosen at the end for the super match game.
What do I do to get out of it?
Might be very good.
All right, okay, I'll try.
Good. Malcolm Bears, thank you. So let's say hello to our contestants today. It's Carol from Lyndhurst. Now, let me tell you a bit about Carol, because Carol is, when we do Crack the Code in the morning, is often the first person, or certainly the first 6, to get her answer in. This is the same Carol, isn't it?
It is me,
I didn't know it was going to be you.
I'm that one.
All right, so you're so good at that. How can you get it so quickly?
Luck.
Yeah, but that is, it's day after day.
Yeah, I'm in competition with Chris from Romsey.
You see. So do you lie, there we are, 6:35, do you lie in bed?
Bath.
You're in the bath?
I do it from
So you lie in the bath every morning with your mobile?
Yes, waiting for your clue, then I text, and then I get out of the bath and go to work.
You've been doing that since we launched Crack Code, I think, haven't you?
For the last 4 years.
Yes, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Then when do you get out of the bath?
The minute I've sent the text to you.
Oh, right, okay. You don't wait for the answer.
No, I shrivel it up.
I'd be worried if it was 10 to 7, but Carol's still at the bar. Like a ball nut now.
No, the minute the text goes, I get out.
Right, okay. That's lovely, Carol. Lovely to meet you. Let's say hello to us. That's Carol from Lyndhurst. Contestant number 2 is Gary from Southampton. Say hello to him. So were you just chosen at random for this?
Well, I got the secret sound wrong, and then Sam come and got me and said, "Could you do this blanket blank?" I said, "Yes." Right, okay, right. That's very good. Right.
Well, Gary, tell us a bit about yourself.
I actually come from Portsmouth, by the way. I just happen to live in Southampton.
Okay, yeah. My best friend lives in Portsmouth. He says, quick. So we're all one big happy family, so we are.
Yeah. I claim to fame as the backward turner overdrive a few weeks ago.
Oh, you did that?
That was me.
Yes. So we actually, if you weren't listening, BTO was the secret sound that day, and you had to be the DJ, didn't you? Literally.
Smashing.
Yeah, you were really good, weren't you?
Was I?
I thought you were. No. That's very good. So look, Gary, are you going to be good at this? Because obviously you've got to try and match your words with the team.
Right.
They could be a nice
Real words.
Real words.
Right.
Yeah.
I will try my best.
Let's see how we do. So that's Gary from Southampton. So here we go with our first sentence to match up with the team. So are you ready, Carol? Are you ready, Gary? And here we go. Question to our first contestant. Carol's going to go first. Carol, when I was young, I dreamt of being a radio presenter. I even used to practice by using my blank as a microphone. So think about that. A few seconds to think. So let's repeat that question. When I was young, I dreamt of being a radio presenter. I even used to practice using my blank as a microphone. Okay, so Carol is thinking, let's go along and see how the team are doing. This is the important part of blank. Blank, of course, is the ability to spell. So Kevin has got 1 letter out so far. And that is, do you really mean it?
No.
No. Okay, that's, goodness. Yes, that's more polite.
Yes,
Oh, that's not polite. Okay, let's go along the road and let's see how Julie's getting on with this. So just repeat the question. When I was young, I dreamt of being a radio presenter. I even used to practice by using my blank as a microphone. Okay, you.
There's no vegetable shortage then.
I was going to say, she's in the news with that one. Let's move on down the line, have a quick look here. Don't let the team see. Hold up your card. There you are, Sam. Crikey.
Do you want me to tell you why I'm blank? Not yet.
That's very impressive. So let's see what the team, in conclusion, Malcolm has put on his board just before we reveal all with that. All very good, Malcolm. So, when I was young, I dreamt of being a radio presenter. I even used to practice by using my blank as a microphone. Now, the worrying thing is, none of them have put the same thing. So this is going to be interesting. So, what are you going to go for, Carol?
I was going to say hairbrush.
Okay, yes, hairbrush. So, 1 point for Carol. Shall we see what everybody else put? Malcolm, what did you put? He put Luther. It's a good answer, actually. Kevin James. What did you put? So why did you put this, Kev? So no, turn down a show. Brick. Kevin put brick, by the way, just tuning in. Why?
I think they're making up their own jokes and trying to juggle the letters around that word.
I don't know what he means. Let's move on. Judy, what did you put? Judy went for the vegetable shortage this morning, stick of celery, very good, and Sam put a 10-inch extendable ruler. All around the board. I am worried we're going to have a draw at this moment. Moving on to our next question for Gary. Gary, here we go. You don't have to say anything yet, you've got plenty of time to think. It was so cold when I got into the radio studio yesterday morning, even my blanks were frozen. So cold when I got into the radio station yesterday morning, even my blanks were frozen. So the team are now thinking, let's find out what we're doing. Malcolm is using a big felt tip. It's like you're drawing an artwork there. Oh, that's good. Yeah, see where you're coming from there. Kev, don't show it, just let me come around the back and see what Kev put there. Oh, hit you.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's quite good actually. And Emily's got technical, so I can't say any more.
Yeah, you're not offended. I did put hairbrush. He had hair then.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Judy has done her, she's all ready as well. This is going to be interesting. Hide your words so Gary can't see you. Oh, that's good. Oh, crikey.
Yes, very technical.
Yeah, very technical. So, Gary, here we go. It was so cold when I got into the radio studio yesterday morning, even my blanks were frozen. What are you going for?
Golf balls.
I'm wrong. So golf balls is a good suggestion, but is it an answer? Let's go down the line and see if anyone has got that. Malcolm, what have you put for yours?
Ears.
Ears. Let's have a look. There it is. Ears. There you are. Very good. Kevin?
Faders.
Faders, they're the knobs we turn on the equipment. It's very technical. Emily?
Headphones. Everyone would have got that, wouldn't they?
Okay, Judy has gone for headphones as well. What a shame Gary didn't say that. And Sam has gone for mic muffs. That's what this is. So Gary, it's no match for you, which means going through to the super match game, it's Carol from Windsor. Time for the super match game, and if you're listening on the radio at the moment, we actually have on our big screen here the super match game on the screen. I'm very excited. In fact, what I might do is come down to the audience and get someone on the road down there to see if they can reveal the legend. But we won't do it just yet. Let's move down here. I'm going to try and overtake Gary. Sorry, Gary didn't make it through, but it's Carol through to the final, and let's walk along the front. I'm chasing Gary along here. Gary, you're doing well here. Gary and I are both crawling along the front row. And it's time for the super match game. Is there a little song for super match game, or have I missed it, Chris? I've missed it. Can we have it again? I think we should. Does everyone can sing along if you like? So here we go with the super match game. So, it is a super match game, and I think the word is to reveal the legend. Good morning, sir. What's your name? John. So, do you want to say the word reveal the legend? Go for it. Reveal the legend. So there we are. That is the legend, and it is, John, just say breakfast. Breakfast blank. So breakfast blank, Carol, is the super match game, and I'm going to come back on stage because, of course, at this point, Carol has to decide which celebrity on stage is the most intelligent. So this will be interesting. Who should get a match up with? Will it be Sam on Julian on travel, Emily on news, Kevin on sports, or Chief Engineer Malcolm? Who does she think will say the same word as her? So who do you want to go for?
Emily.
So, as they say in all good game shows, Carol, come over here. So, I'm going to ask Emily to write down, you don't have to write anything, I'm going to ask Emily to write down what the word is. Breakfast, blank. Emily's got a few seconds now to think about what that word could be and to write it down on the board. Now, obviously, there's a choice here of 50 points, 100 points and 150 points. I want to thank all the silent listeners who got involved in this last week, where random people asked, did you get a whole new text there? Yeah. So people who rang in were asked, to complete the legend. They were told breakfast down the word, what's the next, down the phone, what's the next word, and thank you to everyone who did that. That's hopefully given Emily plenty of time to write the word down. Have you done that?
I have.
Good.
I've made my decision.
I've made my decision.
Thank you very much indeed. So it's time for the super match game. Carol, breakfast blank. What word are you going for?
Meeting.
Breakfast meeting. So,
Obviously not the right.
well, it might have no idea. So let's, don't turn around just yet. So let's look at, so is it breakfast meeting? Is that what people said when they were asked on the phone last week? 50 blanks. What's the answer? Breakfast cereals. Okay, I'm going to lean over here just to see, what do you think the next one's going to be, madam? Get nice and come up to me here. Any suggestions? Go for it. Muffins. Okay, it's 100 blanks breakfast muffins. Let's reveal the legend. Breakfast show. Okay, and 150 blanks is breakfast presenter. And that is what Emily's got there. What's that?
But then I've decided to present.
But Carol, don't worry, because you're still going to get a prize. You're going to get a BBC Radio Solar mug. Very occasionally, we're going to give a prize out today. Will you give it up for Carol and Linda? So Carol, stay there if they want to say have a prize for they are BBC Radio Solar mugs.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy. Thank you for coming on. Carol and Linda. 4, 3, 2, 1, take a picture. Thank you very much. There you are, that's another tiara. It's good, so Julie Goodley, thank you very much indeed. More travel came just before 10 o'clock. Now, this morning is slightly unusual, and the other day...
And have a couple of guests up on stage as well. It's an absolute pleasure to interview you, Julian, and also because I know that actually you really hate being interviewed.
Yes.
And this took
This
a little...
is very rare.
It is, yeah. This took a little bit of persuasion and a lot of, it's okay, I'll be nice. Yes, be very, very nice to you. Let's just take you back 20 years to where it all started.
Yes.
What can you actually remember about that first show?
Well, not a lot apart from the equipment, because we have session hour counting the number of knobs or faders, which came up a few minutes ago on the blankety blank. We think there's 30 on that desk, so it's quite complicated. I think its antecedent is a music mixing desk. So I suddenly arrived and had to learn how to use it, and as you may or may not know, Sasha and I, all presenters, we all work our own equipment, so we don't have technical operators to do it. So my first day was being presented with this big bit of kit. My predecessor David kindly spent a few days showing me how to use it, but nothing made up for the fact that on the first morning I had to work it myself. So that's my main memory, is being absolutely scared. Will I press the right button?
It's all presenters, you can hear that moment when they're going, hang on, which one, which button,
Which is
which
mic
one to
two.
go? We have got your very, very first boss at Radio Solent here this morning, the one who actually gave you your job, Julian. Please welcome on stage Chris Van Shane. Chris, thank you very much for coming in to come and have a chat. Do you want to take a seat? And tell us, why Julian? What was it about Julian that you thought, yeah, he's the perfect man for the job?
A couple of things, actually. One, I think Julian's got a brilliant instinct for having his finger on the pulse and knowing what people around here are talking about, thinking about, are interested in, whether it's the serious stuff or the lighter stuff. And he's also, whether you call it a ringmaster or a choreographer, he's brilliant at creating a show. Now, there's an awful lot of news and information on the Radio Solent Breakfast Show, and that's how it should be, but it can be a quite heavy diet if you're not careful. One of the things this fella's very good at is leavening the mix, so we get fun and conversation and light and shade, as well as all the important information. He's brilliant at that.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
So very, 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 very true. And
Can I tell you a story about
Yeah.
this guy then? So what happened? Can I tell the story? You ring me twice. So it was, actually, we spoke a few weeks ago because it was the 20th anniversary of the call, which was sometime between Boxing Day and New Year's Day 1996, and the phone went, and it was Chris. And I was working with Chris at the previous station in Guildford for the BBC, and Chris rang me and said, you know, how would you like to come down for a while to Southampton to be my number 2? And I went, oh, okay. So you think when you get a call like that, you think, well, I'll go away and think about that. And I said, and then put the phone down, and about 3 minutes later the phone went again, and it was Chris, and he went, well, by the way, I forgot to mention, because being number 2 meant management, you know, doing memos. Phone went again, Chris, I forgot to mention, you've also got to present the breakfast show.
Well, get your money's worth, sweat the assets, don't you?
So I went, oh right, so that was the call, and so therefore, into the new year of 1997, that January, I was saying a fond farewell to my colleagues at Guildford and indeed Brighton, where I've been for the previous 13 years. And I turned up, and yes, Chris looked after me, and we started. I mean, the show changed, didn't it, Chris, when I arrived, really?
Yeah, one of the things that happened is we started much more interaction, taking phone calls, and there were some people who were worried about whether that would work in what had been pretty much a sort of 100% news diet. Before that, called the people of the South have something to say on the news agenda, and we thought we'd give it a go. And, you know, another thing, Sasha, that Julian's very good at is picking the right subjects.
Yeah.
I mean, he was talking earlier on about the angst that he and Emily have about whether the phones will ring. And funnily enough, they always do.
Always do. And that was really something that you wanted to encourage, wasn't it, Julian?
Yes, I was very keen that we talked in the morning. There's a lot of radio out there. There was less radio out there in 1997 than there is now. But I was keen that, apart from just the news agenda, it would be, as Chris said, the people's agenda. So very quickly we introduced people ringing, asking you, the listener, to phone in. Text hadn't started then, although I was told by one of my producers, Ed, the other day, that we were the first station to start texts because they went and bought a mobile phone. And you just texted that phone to do your text messages.
If it worked.
But yes, so people ringing in was a key part of that, and emails, of course, took off as well. And yes, I wanted people to have their say about the stories, because you know, when Adnan was on earlier, talking about Donald Trump and so on, knowing what the listeners think as well changes that interview, because you've got evidence from what people have said on the phones and the emails, etc., to tell Adnan what the mood is, and I think that's an important part.
Let's just bring in another one of your former bosses, Julian. Another managing editor from BBC Radio Solar. Please welcome Chris Carnegie.
Chris,
come and take a seat.
If you weren't listening earlier, Sasha was, but I managed to hit Chris with a cricket ball earlier, so we're still talking, which is good.
Chris, your time at Solar, there was a lot of interaction with listeners with Julian, and that was really something that stood out, wasn't it?
Well, this picks up what the guys have just been saying, actually. The first day I walked into Solent, you know, feeling a bit sort of nervous, I remember Julian's producer buzzed me into the gate and said, "It's a pleasure to welcome you." I thought, that will go far. But then after the show, we sat in the studio, me and Jules, and he kind of talked me through the way things worked. And one of the things I remember he said that very Monday morning was, it's never really hard to film this programme because there's always somebody out there to text or email or ring in. And then there was this lovely bit of sort of modesty when he paused and said, "That's not really surprising because they have a very big audience, you know." Well, I then went and checked the figures, and he wasn't wrong. And actually, there's no accident having a huge audience for this show. It's 20 years of getting up early and caring passionately about this amazing movement.
Absolutely. 20 years of covering all the big events, everything that really makes a difference and really matters to absolutely everyone who listens. Jules, I'm very conscious of time and how much time we have, so I wonder whether you would just like to pick out some of the moments where you think that, you know, being on air was so crucial for everyone.
Yes, gosh. So the first year, 97, well, I arrived almost into an election campaign. So John Major and Tony Blair were both up. Obviously, I think Paddy Ashton at the time were the leaders doing Battle of the General Election. They all came on the show, so that was good. And that was pretty early doors behind the chair and behind the microphone. And then I suppose the other big event of that year would have been the death of Diana. And that was a moment when having an interactive programme made a real difference. There is no doubt that the nation were divided, and that was clearly evident on air. Half the audience, it's difficult to define half and half, but from the calls I was taking on air, fans of Diana and were very, very upset. There were others who had the other side of that view, which of course was expressed in some of the papers at the time as well. And that debate unfolded in that, let's be frank, difficult week for the royal family on that bank holiday week in August up until the funeral on the Saturday. And I remember on the Friday morning, around about 20 past 8, we had two callers, both incredibly emotional. One very much upset, obviously everyone was upset about Diana's death, but one very much feeling Diana had been treated badly by the royals, and the other caller feeling exactly the opposite. And that suddenly made me realise how something like that is a tricky one. Chris was obviously management.
And one thing that does stick in my mind about that day is that Julian obviously had to come in a hurry, didn't have any petrol in his car, and stopped at the filling station to fill his car up, and did his preliminary research talking to people in the petrol station. And I think that's probably a mark of that, because I don't think there are lots of presenters who do their pre-interviewing of ordinary people in the petrol station, and that gave him his head start in getting a feel about what people in the south were thinking that day.
Because in fact, I did the petrol station on the A3. There was a lorry driver in tears, Sasha, taking a coffee machine, saying how upset he was about her death at that point, and there were some other people who all joined in. A little bit of a debate going on as well, even at 5 in the morning on that Sunday morning. So already I knew this was going to be a very sad but extraordinary week in our history.
And what you were able to do was actually give space, give a moment to anyone who wanted to express what they were feeling, and that was so important then. Then moving on from that, Julian, there were so many events obviously over the next 20 years that people have needed to have their voice heard about. Crucially, on the breakfast show, when everything is happening, I'm thinking particularly when we get bad weather or anything like that. What are the ones that stick in your mind where you brought the community together?
And will not just be with the whole team and Judy and Evelyn and all the people who've worked on the show for 20 years, but yes, no, I know they say this, but it's no doubt when it comes to bad weather, people turn to their local radio station. It's no accident that the weather team, our colleagues on BBC News and BBC One, when there is poor weather, put up BBC local radio on the screen, because that is where people go for that extra bit of local nous and knowledge on the weather. So yes, no, I particularly remember people being stuck on the A3 that day when we had really bad weather, and people being there all night. So they rang into Paul Miller that night to say, I can't move, I'm stuck in the snow, and they were still there ringing in the next morning, still stuck in the snow. So weather, we've had, every time it batters us, we like to tell the story, Chris.
I don't think a list of important stories should miss the great campaign on silent calls, which has become a national issue since the telemarketing scams and abuses, where people pick up the phone and it's just a computerised dialing system at the other end. That has become a national issue. I think Julian was one of the very first journalists onto it, and as I think I remember it, I think it was after I'd left the station, but I think that came about because Julian noticed a letter hanging around in an in-tray, which probably wasn't getting much attention, of an old lady who'd suffered from this, and it was picking up that letter. Chris may remember it better.
Well, actually, I was going to take you on further, because I was thinking about 2012 as another year when so much happened. The Titanic anniversary, the torch relay, the Olympics. You were in a beach hut for a week in Weymouth, weren't you, for the sailing?
I can't forget.
And so I went back to check all these amazing. It was the Diamond Jubilee as well, the tour, the beacons and so on. Everything seemed to happen in 2012. And then I noticed, I looked back at the little review of the year we wrote for the staff at the end of that year, this little story about, I don't know if people recall this, your programme did a national sort of lead on this story that basically said, in a certain care home in Christchurch, and it turned out to be true everywhere, if you didn't give enough advance notice of your death, you were penalised on the figures. And it's the most extraordinary story, and the gasps in the audience tell that story, don't they? And now it's a way of expressing it. There are legal arguments either side, but in the middle of all that pomp and circumstance of that year, these stories that really matter to people's lives, I think, have been an absolute sort of thread running through these 20 years.
Chris, thank you, Chris, and I do, yes, that story is outrageous because her husband had died on the 3rd of January, I think it was, and she got billed for the whole of January. As a newsmaker, which is another thing we might come on to, but newsmakers ring in with their stories, as you know, and I'm glad to say we've got the money back.
Absolutely, and there are so many times, Julian, where there have been things that have been picked up locally because you've been across a local story, and it has turned into a national issue because you can guarantee that if one person's having something and you're able to give them that voice, other people will be suffering as well. And actually, just occurred to me actually earlier in this week, you had I mean, there's a very good example of local campaigning and how things can change.
Yes, so we had the story of Ernie, who, Ernie's the builder, Malcolm and his wife Karen. You may have heard this on air. So Malcolm's in a nursing home or care home, Karen is at home. The dodgy builders turned up and left her kitchen in a complete mess with exposed wiring. I mean, disgusting. They rang in, Malcolm and Karen, to say they didn't know what to do next, they didn't know where to turn. We did the story on the air. Dominic, our reporter in Portsmouth, has been following us all the way through, and wasn't it delightful on Monday to have Malcolm back on the air, and then Ernie and a whole list of Solent listeners who came forward, Sasha, to basically not only redo their kitchen, but also to do their bathroom. In fact, their whole house has been done up by Solent listeners.
It's amazing.
Those builders deserve a round of applause.
So what I would like to do, we need a lot of answers out of you. So I've got a few quick fire questions of those that have been sort of brought together. Let's just see how many. You've got to keep your answers short. One word, all right, Julian? Are you ready for this one? Questions that everyone wants to know. What time is your alarm clock set for?
4 o'clock in the morning. Is that short enough? Seems like an eternity, but yes, 4 o'clock in the morning.
If you were not a radio presenter, what would you be doing?
Well, probably I was going to be an accountant, so that's what I'd have done.
I think
being an accountant.
Accountancy's loss is radio's game.
My first boss, who was an American called Betty Nicholson, because I worked at a company in London, could not believe when I got to join the BBC through the talent scheme, and she said in a very thick American accent, "If you want to go off and be a DJ, that's your problem," she said. So you go.
Jules, where's your favourite place for a pint on a summer's evening?
Well, I've got lots of lovely pubs near me, so I better mention the 3 that are nearest. So hello to everyone in the Rising Sun, the Hare and Hounds, and the Plough. So that's
very good, very good. On a desert island, what would your luxury item be?
I think, because sleep when you do breakfast is crucial, a really good pillow.
Oh, very good, very good. And have you ever overslept?
No, I've never overslept, which that is true, isn't it, Chris?
Never in my time.
No, I think you have. Yeah. But I was late once, not at Solent, but when I was at Radio Sussex on my way to do the show in Eastbourne from our headquarters in Brighton, and I was driving to the studio and my car broke down. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I knocked on the nearest house, and fortunately they were listeners. So I started the show on the phone, and then they sent the radio car out, and I did the rest of the show.
Amazing. Absolutely. And just a very, very last question, because I know you've got a brilliant story about this, but you're going to keep it quite short, this story. It's a wonderful story. But I was going to ask you your best guest, but I wonder actually, can I change that and ask your worst guest?
Yes, right. I've had lots of wonderful guests. I've been in the BBC 33 years, but I don't think Geoffrey Bernard, who used to write for The Spectator, will mind me saying he's in heaven now, or he might say I might be in hell, Jules, but either way, Geoffrey was permanently inebriated, and Keith Waterhouse, who's a good friend of mine, who was a regular contributor to my show in Brighton, wrote a play about Geoffrey Bernard. And Geoffrey basically wrote in The Spectator, and when he was not well enough because he was so drunk, they just put on the page where he was supposed to write, Geoffrey Bernard is unwell. And Keith wrote the play about Geoffrey's life, where he propped up the bar and got soddled, And Peter O'Toole played Geoffrey in the play in Brighton before it went to Bath, and then had a terrific run in the West End. And Geoffrey, Keith had said to me, Jules, Geoffrey's going to be your after 10 guest on Tuesday morning. So Monday night, Karen and I went to the first night, and we met Peter, who said, see you on Thursday, Jules. And then I went up to Geoffrey Bernard and asked him to come on the show, and he swore at me. I then swore at him back, which was a magic turning point. And then he came in the next morning, and I think, without doubt, he was one of the hardest guests. He drank a bottle of vodka in the whole hour he was with me. And he drank the vodka in BBC cups, which had sort of wax linings, and the vodka dissolved the wax. And Malcolm would be shocked to hear this. It then went all over the baize table. If you're an engineer, you'll know that's a nightmare. We got through the hour, but it was certainly an experience. Sorry, Jim.
Oh, that is an amazing story, Julian, thank you. Now, what celebration would be complete without the look of worry on Julian's face now? What celebration would be complete without the most amazing cake? And we have to say huge thanks to Lorraine, who's here today, for making this. Brought on by the Chief Executive of the Mayflower, Michael. Looks like.
So this is by the way, I've got to bring in Malcolm here, because this is an old-fashioned microphone, who's our chief engineer. Malcolm, has that microphone got a kind of name, a code or anything from the old days?
It does, and I can't remember it at the moment. It's one of those in our Winchester studio.
Do we really? So it is an old-fashioned BBC microphone, and it's amazing. And I know BBC Local Radio exists because of Frank Gillard, who of course, one of my heroes who I've interviewed a couple of times in my career. And this is what I would call a Frank Gillard, wartime reporter and founder of BBC Local Radio microphone. I love it.
Now, we have here in the audience a lady who actually made this camera. We're going to put pictures on social media so that you can actually see what this looks like. Lorraine, would you just like to stand up for me? Lorraine is down, I believe, someone over there.
So we're into technical things, that's what the microphone is.
Now, and also standing next to you, Julian, Michael Ockwell, Chief Executive of the Mayflower, where we are today.
Michael, thank you, Sasha. Thank you so much for interviewing me. That's my first time, and you were wonderful and made it very easy. Isn't she a star, Sasha? Finally. Alongside me, the boss here at the Mayflower, and I know he listens because actually a wee while back he rang in on the quiz and won.
Exactly, I did. Absolutely, I didn't claim the prize though. I didn't.
So what was the question? Do you remember?
It was about the play that goes wrong.
Oh yes.
Do you remember? That's right. That's coming to Mayflower Theatre in July. Yes.
I watched it on the telly over Christmas. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's got a lot of good comments from viewers.
Absolutely, it's a fantastic show. Very, very fun. Absolutely right. Yes, and we're delighted actually because it was Peter Pan that goes wrong that was on at Christmas, and they said the play that goes wrong, which has done stocking business in the West End and here, as I say, in July. So along with lots of the shows during the year.
And Michael, thank you for letting us come on stage here at a very strange time. I want to thank the Commitments cast, because that's the other thing. We are doing this show in front of a constructed set for the show this week, and we're so grateful, because I can imagine if you're putting on a show, the last thing you want is the BBC turning up with lots of lights, so they've been amazing. Will you thank them for me?
We will, but we only do it for very special people, Julian, as you know. So
before I let you go, I mean, it's great working here in the South for me, and I'm sure for you, because you're part of an institution. This theatre is an institution, as a lot of other theatres are across the South. What do you want to say to the audience here?
Oh, well, this is all about community. This is why we do it, and and genuinely, I think your show, Julian, encapsulates what we try to do, which is about it's family. You feel like a family. It's great to have you here today, but from our point of view, to have the community here with us today, our guys don't normally work at 4 o'clock in the morning. They normally work in the evening, so it's a real shock to them. They've done a fantastic job, but they did it genuinely because they wanted to help you out, and your guys have been amazing to work with. So we're delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I may not we've talked a lot about other things and obviously about me today, which made me very embarrassed. A few things I just want to say, because I couldn't do this without you. The first you is you, my colleagues here. I've got 4 wonderful colleagues here. There's been many over the years, all my lovely producers, all the reporters, Joe, Dominic, Tristan, so many to mention. But will you give it up for my friends on stage today? Kevin James. He's been by my side on most of these outside broadcasts you've heard about over the show this morning, and the Queen Mary too. I mean, you name the programmes we've done. Even we've done a show at a Little Chef. We've done a show at a hospital, I remember the other night. I mean, that was a nightmare getting back to work, but it did. Malcolm Bear, thank you very much. You in the audience here today, getting up to come to a theatre at 5 in the morning, whenever you arrived. I saw people driving in this morning. I waved at them. I thought, crikey, it's 5:30. So thank you so much for coming. You listening at home, thank you very much. You in the car, who've been on the school run, whether you're doing the weather watches, the cool school, the secret sound, the storage, the newsmakers. It's all about, let's be honest, that's been my experience the last 20 years. It's been all about you. And so I know it's a bit cheesy, isn't it? We couldn't do it without you, but seriously, that's what Solent's all about, is your input on our airway. So I want to say thank you for 20 years. Thank you for all the lovely cars, the presents, the cakes, you name it, fantastic. And well, here's to many more. I'm Julian Clegg. Thank you.
Thank you.